Hello everyone, and welcome to the channel where we dive deep into the fascinating world of the Middle Ages. Today we're strapping in for a journey into the Age of Armor. When you picture a medieval knight, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For most of us, it's that iconic image, a warrior encased head to toe in gleaming polished steel. But this full plate armor wasn't always the standard. In fact, its development is a captivating story of an arms race. An evolution driven by changing battlefield tactics and ever-improving weapon technology. Let's turn back the clock to the early Middle Ages around the 11th century, the time of the Norman conquest. If you look at the famous Bayeux Tapestry, you won't see knights in shining plate. Instead, you'll see warriors wearing what's called mail, or chainmail. This was the dominant form of protection for centuries. Mail is made of thousands of interlinked iron or steel rings. It's incredibly flexible, offering excellent protection against slashing weapons like swords. A sword cut that would slice through leather or cloth would be stopped by the linked rings. It was a huge leap forward in personal defense. However, mail had its weaknesses. While great against cuts, it offered less protection against powerful piercing attacks, like a well-aimed lance charge or a heavy crossbow bolt. A strong thrust could break the rings or push them deep into the wound. It also didn't do much to absorb the blunt force trauma from weapons like maces and warhammers. A blow might not break the mail, but it could still break the bones underneath. To counter this, knights wore a padded garment called a gambeson or acqueton underneath their mail hauberk. This provided cushioning and some extra protection, but the fundamental vulnerabilities remained. As the centuries rolled on, weapon technology didn't stand still. Blacksmiths developed stronger crossbows with immense drawing power. Longbows, particularly in the hands of skilled English archers, could unleash a storm of arrows capable of penetrating mail at certain ranges. On the battlefield, the cavalry charge became more organized and powerful. Knights needed something better, something that could deflect a lance tip or turn aside a deadly arrow. This necessity sparked the next great innovation in armor. This is where we see the beginning of what's called transitional armor, which started appearing in the 13th and 14th centuries. Knights and armorers began experimenting by adding solid metal plates to reinforce the most vulnerable areas over their mail. It didn't happen overnight. At first it was simple pieces, a plate for the knees, known as a pollen, or perhaps small circular plates called baisages to protect the armpits, a notorious weak spot in mail. Then came greaves to protect the shins and couters for the elbows. Slowly but surely, the knight's silhouette began to change. They were becoming a hybrid of mail and plate, a walking testament to the ongoing arms race. This transitional period was crucial. Armorers learned how to shape steel to fit the human form, not just as flat plates, but as articulated, curved pieces that allowed for a surprising range of movement. They learned about glancing surfaces, shaping a breastplate or a helmet so that a weapon's point would slide off rather than dig in. This was a game changer. It wasn't just about adding more metal, it was about using metal more intelligently. The development of the great helm, which completely encased the head, is a prime example of this trend towards total protection. By the 15th century, we finally arrive at what we recognize as full-plate armor. The master armorers of places like Milan in Italy and Augsburg in Germany were producing breathtakingly beautiful and functional suits. Mail was now relegated to a secondary role, used to cover the joints and gaps that the plates couldn't, like the inner elbow or the groin. A full harness, as it was called, was a complex, articulated exoskeleton. Every piece was designed to work with the others. The pauldrons protecting the shoulders overlapped with the breastplate and the rear braces on the upper arm. The leg armor was a system of cuisses for the thighs, pollens for the knees, and greaves for the shins, all connected and moving with the wearer. People often have the misconception that a knight in full plate could barely move, that if they fell over, they were like a turtle on its back. This is largely a myth. A well-made suit of armor was custom-fitted to its owner. The total weight, around 20 to 25 kilograms or 45 to 55 pounds, was distributed evenly across the body. A fit man could run, jump, mount a horse, and even do a somersault in a good suit of armor. The articulation was so sophisticated that it allowed for a remarkable degree of freedom. It wasn't as nimble as wearing no armor, of course, but it was far from the clumsy metal prison many imagine. These suits weren't just for battle, they were also a status symbol. The finest armors were incredibly expensive, costing as much as a small farm or a luxury car today. They were often decorated with intricate etching, gilding, and fluting, transforming them from mere tools of war into works of art. Special tournament armors were even heavier and more specialized, designed for the specific rules of jousting or the melee. They were the high-performance sports equipment of their day, showcasing a knight's wealth, status, and prowess. So what brought the Age of Armor to an end? In a word, firearms. The development of effective handguns and muskets in the 16th and 17th centuries changed everything. Early firearms were inaccurate and slow to load, but they could punch through even the finest plate armor. While armorers tried to create bulletproof breastplates by making them thicker and heavier, this just made the armor unwieldy. The arms race had reached a point where offense definitively beat defense. As firearms became more common on the battlefield, the utility of a full, expensive suit of armor declined. It gradually fell out of use, with soldiers retaining only the most crucial pieces like a breastplate and helmet, a style known as a cuirassier, before eventually disappearing from the battlefield almost entirely. The story of armor is the story of medieval technology and warfare itself. From the flexible rings of chainmail to the articulated steel shell of plate harness, each development was a direct response to a new threat. It's a testament to the ingenuity and craftsmanship of medieval artisans and the relentless quest for survival on the battlefield. The image of the knight in shining armor remains one of the most enduring symbols of the Middle Ages, a powerful icon of strength, chivalry, and a bygone era of warfare. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the Age of Armor. I hope you found it as fascinating as I do. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into history. Let me know in the comments what aspect of the Middle Ages you'd like to see covered next. Until then, stay curious.